Regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for April 1st, 2024. We'll start at 7:02. Before we call the meeting to order and the Pledge of Allegiance, is with heavy hearts that the Fredonia Fire Department informs us of the passing of one of our own, John J. Sullivan. He served with the Fredonia Fire Department in his community for over 55 years, a member of the M.M. Fenner Hose Company, and served the capacity of secretary and treasurer for over 30 years. He was an avid bugler in the Vanguard Drum and Bugle Corps, and his dedication and professionalism as an administrative officer of the department was unsurpassed. He served as financial secretary and treasurer for many, many years. John also served as the treasurer of the Fredonia Exempt Firemen's Association. Our sincere condolences go out to his wife and family, his extended fire family, and had the chance to stop by and pay our condolences to the family tonight. And I told them that just before the pledge, we'd have a moment of silence in his honor. So please stand. Thank you. For the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll call roll. Trustees. Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Trustee Wendell.
Here.
Trustee Syracuse.
Here.
Trustee Brockler.
Here.
Trustee Esperson.
Here.
Thank you. I ask for approval of minutes.
Whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of March 18th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell. Aye. Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Thank you. This portion of the meeting is for the public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand at the microphone and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking for themselves, 5 minutes of speaking on behalf of a group. I'll ask the speakers refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board. Alyssa will be keeping the time clock, so we'll call you up as you signed in. First, Rob Clark, Fredonia.
Thank you. I spent the morning with you guys watching the budget while I cleaned my office. I feel very at home right
Is it
now.
exciting for you as it was, Fred?
Yeah, well, I got the office clean. I read the comprehensive plan last week, and there's a lot of good work in it. But sadly, some of the bigger proposals on the table now didn't come from the comprehensive plan. They didn't get broad, thoughtful consideration or study of pros and cons, current and future benefits, or the imagining of what could go wrong. So it shouldn't be a surprise they significantly lack maturity. Meanwhile, I applaud the work that goes into the budget process. I know it's hard. There are tough decisions to make. I listen to recordings of the meetings while catching up on the mess, and I'm a little less worried now that the Humane Society won't come and take my cat. It was a mess. One reason a municipality uses a group of trustees is to put a broad layer of independent trust and accountability between the shopping list and the purse. And with a few exceptions, the business of the trustees is to be transparent to the public. The beauty of all that, in theory, is how it should limit surprises and questions. We're not quite there, however, given the clunky way some of the initiatives roll out here. I've talked with John about this, and the optics are pretty bad. But trust me, we really do want a thoughtful public discussion about the management of our resources and obligations, especially anything new. But along with everything we absolutely must do, you want to take away our reservoir. I still think we should put our own oxygen mask on before we try to help others. You raise our water rates without analysis, and even though I bet it's close, but this isn't horseshoes and hand grenades. We'd like you to do the math. You want to take our building inspector. You want to give the fire chief those responsibilities to improve the service or save money. As compared to other departments, people can't not notice there's something very different about his relationship with this board. You have to take away the salt truck from the DPW and have the police department rebuild their car engines, but you have to admit that is a nice truck he drives. And you know, you really should come to the people who are paying the bills for these things. If not first, somewhere along the way. The community deserves a proper financial analysis for every one of these things. Not to mention the kind of debt some of you would let us incur is just staggering. Now one of you says, just bite the bullet, on a plan to raise taxes nearly 20%. It is interesting, though, how 10 years of 2% increases would have compared. You're in a tough spot. And though it may not feel like it sometimes, you do have community support. But please do the math and make certain whatever you decide doesn't trigger unintended negative consequences. It gets a little testy. Am I done? That was 3? I really didn't want to read the last thing anyway. We're good? Still friends?
Thank you, Ron. James Linden, Fredonia.
I have 2 subjects. Could I get longer time for 2 subjects?
Well, you're representing a group on your T-shirt there?
Well, I'm representing myself for both my thoughts, but, so anyhow, James Linden, Fredonia. First subject is the water, the reservoir, and keeping of it. John Esperson mentioned the roadblocks. What happens if we get more roadblocks? Well, there's more roadblocks have happened. If you see the city of Dunkirk just had to go for a lifeline of $18 million on top of the many millions of dollars that they already owe. That's a roadblock, John. We don't want to get into that position. We don't want to tie up with that. I warned you of their budget, just like I warned you of the county budget. I warned you of their water budget that's in trouble, and I warned you of their city budget, and then it all came true. Once again, roadblocks. You had roadblocks when you first started this. You spent $144,000 on a study when we already had studies. You could have used that money for the repairs that the county was asking for us to do. You've spent more money since then on another study and a few other things that you're moving forward with and wasting time. These are roadblocks. You should have been repairing our current system and moving forward with our current system. Your plan is going to, over 30 years, is going to cause this village to spend tens of millions of dollars above what it would cost out of their own pockets for maintaining their own system and buying their own water. Tens of millions of dollars more over 30 years. Those are roadblocks, John. That needs to be end. You need to change the direction on this and convince your other trustees over by you that believe the same. Now the budget. I'm going to move into the budget now. The mayor proposed a 18.91% tax increase. That's the largest in the history of this village. That's absurd. I can't believe that you thought there was any kind of realistic view. I don't know what the actual tax cap. I know the tax cap from the state is 2% plus whatever we had. We were able to apply from carryover plus there was a multiplier. Could you tell me what that is? 3.1%. So our total is 3.1%. I believe wholeheartedly that this board get us down to that tax cap. That's a pretty good increase. I thought it was going to be less than that, quite frankly. But I know that you can get below that or at that tax cap. You may have to use a little bit of fund balance, but that's what keeps you in the mid-range. One of your departments is still above that, the 25%. That's what your fund balance is for. When you're above the 15 to 25%, you should use some of that to stay in that range. That's why we set a range. So go through your budget again. I watched your meetings. You aren't nearly addressing what the issues that you need to. And you may have to lay off a few people. You may have to cut back a little bit this year. But sometimes there's some very hard choices. Don't put us in the position that Dunkirk is in today.
Richard Leone, representing Sicilian Historical Society.
Okay, a couple of things again, but I've been trying long and hard over the last 4 to 5 months that I've been looking at this thing to figure out why we're so adamant about going to Dunkirk for the water supply. And I can't see it. I could never see the reason behind it. And standing here week after week with a lot of other people talking and putting figures and facts and options down, what we get back is pretty much a blank stare and a gee, I wish your 3 minutes were up look. I, for one, have never had anyone come up to me and give me one reason, one good, solid reason why going to Dunkirk for our water supply, giving up our flexibility, our sovereignty, and our total control over the production of an extremely valuable and important resource to our taxpayers, how that is, in any way, a good idea. I've sat here for a few times trying to say, well, let's look at both sides. Let's go deep in. Let's get the dollar figures down. Let's see what we can come up with on both ways. Maybe there is an obvious reason, once you get deep into the weeds, that the Dunkirk option is better. I've since come to the conclusion that it's not. And I really seriously don't know why, except ever since I've been involved in this, and now it's literally 6 months. I mean, you guys have been involved with it much longer. This goes back April, May of last year when we first started in with the studies, when the county first came down on us like a ton of rocks with mandatory fines if we didn't do something now. And I couldn't figure out where was the pressure coming from, why. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, in the last couple of weeks, we find out Dunkirk's got a $25 million financial sinkhole under City Hall, and it's going to eat the whole blasted building if they don't do something and do it quickly. Well, gee, where could we get $2.5 million a year pretty much cost-free? There's Fredonia and their water supply. At $5 and 18, 15 cents, whatever the current rate is to the water district now, that's $2.5 million a year, okay, at marginal cost after the first year of setting up the pump stations and all of the lines and everything else. 10 years, we pay for their $25 million financial hole. Wondrous. But I'll say the same thing Jim said. Why in the heck should we? We should be putting that money, that $25 million, into our personal village stuff. And I think the way to do it, going forward, I raised the issue the other day. I threw another option out on the table. Forget our 100-year-old water processing plant. We build a new one, right from scratch. We put it over where it's not affected by the crumbling stream bank that's sitting under the current one. We build it, and it can be done specifically for our water chemistry, so that we pretty much eliminate any potential problems with the county going forward, as long as we maintain the building and the processes we've got. The EPA has tools where you could put your water chemistry in, and they come back with a list of the best water treatment options for your particular situation. Let's do it. What'll it cost? It's a little difficult to say right now because, quite frankly, I don't have access to a lot of cost information like the rest of the taxpayers don't have access to it. But just off the top of my head, I did a quick internet study, found 5 or 6 ongoing water treatment plant development projects, almost all of which were for the cities 10 times larger than ours. The average cost on those is $100 million. All right, if they're 10 times larger than our throughput requirements, one more minute please if I can, then why don't we, excuse me, why don't we take a hard look, okay, at what it would really cost to do that? Off the top of my head, we don't need a Spoden Road plant, $5.5 million, gone. We don't need stream bed stabilization. God knows how many million that's going to be, because given what Labella has shown us, that's a major, major project. Call it another 5 million. There's 10 million. How much do we have going forward for implementation of the water plant enhancements that we have for the current water plant? Those are off the board. On top of which you have reduced maintenance capabilities for the next, or maintenance requirements the next 10 to 20 years, because you've got brand new facilities, total redundancy, or at least minimal redundancy, so we don't break down and have to issue a water treatment order or a boil water order, and so forth. Less manpower and less total expense going forward, all with brand new facilities. Let's take a hard look at it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mark Twitchell, Fredonia.
Thank you. I'm only going to refer to the water issue fairly obliquely because the decision that the board made, or the process, the decision-making process that I observed from this board, is similar to one that I recently was educated on the budget process, whereby there's a concept here in the village that is going to be changed. The Department of Zoning and Building Code Enforcement is to be rendered under the fire department. It's going to require a change in the law to allow this to happen. Well, you know, and here's where the water thing comes in, because, you know, there has been no public engagement so far other than the budget hearing to know how many people in Fredonia actually want the fire department to be responsible for examining their homes and their businesses. I understand the fire, inspection is kind of a separate issue. I don't have a problem with that. Fire people did that before, but now you're actually asking fire department personnel to sit in at zoning and planning board meetings and help the zoning and planning board do their job. And I don't think that they don't quite have the background for that. But my point is that we've put the board has put the cart ahead of the horse, as they did with the secret decision on the water. They're going to, in the budget process, they've already got outlined where the money is going to be spent, who is going to be employed, how the power is going to be transferred, but the concept hasn't been yet introduced. That comes later. There's going to have to be a public hearing when the citizens of Fredonia are going to be allowed to voice their views. Do we really want the fire department to be in charge of building and code enforcement? That job is like one of the most, the least popular jobs in the village. The code enforcement officer is never a popular guy. I'm not sure that I want our fire department, as skilled professionals at dealing with fires, to have to respond to the inevitable complaints that they're not doing a fair job in inspecting buildings and reviewing construction plans and so forth. So again, I really am critical of the approach here is to make changes and then later go back and follow the law. So thank you.
That closes the public portion of tonight's meeting. There's no correspondence tonight. We'll go to the mayor's report. Tuesday, March 19th, met with members of Labella's group to discuss the launch of the New York Main Street project. Applications will be available beginning next week. Same day, participated in the Brooks Hospital Community Forum at Northern Chautauqua Catholic School in Dunkirk, We had the chance to speak with Calida Health officials following the meeting. I only get 10 seconds? Okay, I'll try. At 7 o'clock that evening, we attended the meeting of the new Fredonia Farm Festival to discuss the upcoming 56th annual event that will be held in Barker Commons. I want to personally thank the citizens who have stepped up to form that committee and begin the process. On Wednesday, March 20th, we met with Rob and Trustee Esperson to discuss details of the proposed water project. Same day, I had the chance to speak with Twan Tweeners and John Jablonski of the Chautauqua Waterside Conservatory concerning issues under discussion about Canaway Creek and, of course, the reservoir. On the 20th, I participated in a NICOM Zoom meeting concerning the orientation for newly elected officials. And then finally, on the 20th, I attended and participated in the Community Eclipse Information Forum held in the Fredonia Opera House, produced by both the Fredonia Fire Department and the Fredonia Police Department, updating our community on preparations for next week's Eclipse event. I want to remind everybody that free Eclipse glasses are still available at the Fire Hall, here in Village Hall, the library, and the Town of Pomfret offices as well. We also had a meeting with a local resident on current dog and cat laws within the village. That evening, I was invited to participate and meet with members of the Fredonia Farmers Market to discuss their upcoming season of events. Trustee Twitchell also was part of that meeting as well, and we look forward to this year's Farmers Market. Let's see where we left off here. On Friday, March 22nd, we met with Trustee Twitchell and members of the Lake Erie Management Group to discuss grant opportunities for fishing locations throughout the village on Canada Way Creek. We've signed a grant application for installation of a new fishing dock behind Fredonia Fire Hall with entry, possible entry for fishermen there as well, and identified several other areas where fishermen may be able to get entrance to Canada Way Creek without crowding parking on public streets. And we thank members of that group, including Jim Joy, for helping us with that project. March 25th through 28th, we are holding budget meetings with various department heads to finalize the proposed 2024 annual budget. Those meetings will continue throughout the rest of this week. And on Tuesday, March 26th, met with members of the Chautauqua Hospice about possible expansion of their services within the Fredonia area. And on Saturday, March 30th, we toured the WCA home with members of the Ranch Range and Lieutenant Colonel Martin to continue discussions of a possible VA home or center at that location. The meetings will continue next weekend as well. And as I said earlier this evening, we paid our respects to the family of Mr. Sullivan, who passed from the fire department. And that is my mayor's report for this week. We move to trustee committee reports. Trustee Brockler.
I did attend the Eclipse presentation our fire department and police put together, and it was very nice. I think it's good to get the word out and, to repeat what the mayor said, get those free glasses and wear them when the time comes. And then other than that, I've been pretty much involved in budget hearings and meetings and kind of going through the budget line by line. And I look forward to doing some more of that. And we are meeting again this Friday, which I think has been announced publicly.
Yes.
So that's it.
Thank you. Trustee Esperson.
Yeah, and the ongoing effort to find out where our unaccounted for water is coming from. I met with the DPW director and a representative from IT Sales. They sell water meters, and they refurbish water meters and calibrate water meters. We went up to the water treatment plant, and the outflow meter is accurate, so we're not getting a bad reading. We're waiting for Labella to select the best site to move the meter measuring the water coming into the plant. That may be where the error lies. At least I'm crossing my fingers. That's where the error lies. We met this morning with the health department regarding a water conservation and boil water order that will become necessary April 16th when divers are in the clear wells doing some long overdue cleaning of those areas. So we're getting out ahead of the game and letting people know way ahead of time to conserve water. We don't know what kind of turbidity is going to be in the wells until they're in there and can test it during the process. The only other thing I wanted to say is, just to be clear, As far as building, fire, code enforcement, many communities have those tasks fall under the fire department. When we were in NICOM, we canvassed 20 mayors or so, and the majority of them do have those duties falling under the fire department. Jamestown has those duties falling under the fire department. We are not reinventing the wheel here. It's a common practice amongst municipalities. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Twitchell.
Yes, as the mayor said, we did have a meeting with LEMC and Jim Joy to talk about also stabilizing the bank behind the fire hall and establishing a fishing site, which I think would be a win-win. It probably wouldn't even cost us any money. We could do it by just removing some trees and establishing the bank there through the DPW, and I think that would be a great idea. And we are going through the budget, and I'm also still concerned about moving the zoning department, building inspector department over to the fire department. I know you keep saying that you've spoken to other people and Jamestown does it, but I haven't seen any written proof. I mean, you know, to me, I just feel like this isn't gonna save us money either. What we have right now works, and if we need to make improvements, we can do that by looking for a full-time department head. And there hasn't been much discussion on that. It's just pretty much, we're gonna do it this way. And as my husband said about putting the cart before the horse, we haven't even changed the charter yet. And we do need a public hearing in order to do that. We need to hear from the public to hear what they think of this idea. You can't just automatically do these things without engaging the public. And to me, that's what it sounds like we're trying to do. You know, by looking in the budget and appointing these new jobs over to the fire department, that isn't the way it works. And I really hope the other trustees will join me in looking at this and not moving on this as part of our budget. And we will be having another budget hearing this Friday at 9 a.m. here, and we will be having a public hearing on April 15th, so the public can come and listen to the tentative budget at that time. And I really want to look hard at cutting back. I really don't think we need to go 18.91%. I really think, you know, there are going to be some hard cuts. People aren't going to get new trucks, new anything, even new employees. I mean, we have to tighten our belts, and I really don't want to end up like Dunkirk is. And if we don't do that, if you want to raise the budget by that percentage, that will really damage our bond rating also. And I feel that the trustees are going to have to take a closer look at the budget so we can reduce that line. Thank you.
Trustee Syracuse.
I was in the meeting this morning with John in the health department. We're really hoping that we won't have to do a boil order. That's kind of what the conserve order is going to be for, so that way we can use the Webster Road tank for as long as they're in there, hopefully, to then be able to get everything cleared up, let the turbidity out of there, and then move forward with water production. But just know that, yes, a boil water order may be coming. As far as the code enforcement office restructuring, we aren't really changing anybody's role. I mean, building inspector is still going to be doing building inspection, fire is going to be doing fire inspections. That's really the biggest change, is that there will be somebody from the fire department doing the fire inspections. And it is looking at saving some money, I think, this year. I believe the chief, in doing both budgets, slated about a 10 grand savings this year, and more potential for revenue over the next fiscal year, as well as more savings after this fiscal year. Yeah, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Wandell.
Regarding the budget, I'm actively involved in that as well. I'm doing my homework on looking at being fiscally responsible for the community, so I hope that the community would put their trust in me in working together with the rest of the team here to do what's best for the village. So that is my aim. Regarding the DPW situation here in the community, and specifically wastewater treatment plant, most know that I've been working with the supervisor. There are ongoing activities regarding that for solutions to problems and issues that the plant currently has, and I'm continuing to work with them. And I do have a meeting planned with I believe the mayor and the department supervisor, hopefully, I think next week, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the trustees for those reports. Let me assure the general public and people who have been in this room and have done these budgets before that your first blush of a budget is exactly that. It's a first blush based on what we've spent, what our history is, and it's a starting point to begin working that number down. So yes, after all these years, and you're looking at not raising taxes continually, not raising water rates continually, we are at 18.9% based on the budget that we have before us. There's nobody saying that that's where it's going to end up. This is a starting point. We'll leave it at that. So we go to treasurer's report. Alyssa?
Is the February information? General fund revenue is at $5,896,000. Expenses are at $6,109,000 for a net income of negative $213,240. Our water revenue is $1,126,000. Expenses are $1,690,000 for a net income of negative $564,300. The sewer fund revenue was $1,137,000. Expenses $1,683,000 for a net income of negative $545,900. And that's it.
Thank you. There are no additional reports at this time. Resolutions?
Whereas pursuant to Section 5-5083 of the New York Village Law, a public hearing must be held on the tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2024, with notice of such public hearing published in the official newspaper, which is the Observer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia hereby schedules a public hearing on the 15th day of April at 6:30 p.m. in Village Hall, 9 to 11 Church Street, Fredonia, New York, to receive comments on the 2024 fiscal year tentative budget, which will be on file at the office of the village clerk in the Village of Fredonia on Monday, April 8th. Be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby directed to publish notice of said hearing pursuant to village law.
A second.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
I make a motion that we table this next resolution.
Second?
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
That being said, we'll be going into executive session to discuss not one, but two employee issues. Next meeting of the Village of Fredonia Workshop will take place on Wednesday, April 10th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the trustee room, this room, second floor of Village Hall. The next Village of Fredonia Board meeting will take place Monday, April 15th, 2024, at 7 PM in the trustee room, second floor of Village Hall. Do we have a motion?
I make a
Turn this
motion that we
one.
enter into executive session for matters with employment within the Village of Fredonia.
Second?
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance tonight, your input. Have a good evening. Thank you, Chip.